today?
Yay! Welcome to Care Lab.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, always, always. What's up? What's going on?
Well, we like to start with a weird question. So I have one for you because I definitely have an answer to this question. So I'm interested in yours. Are you ready?
So you definitely have an answer?
Oh, I have an answer. So you got to go first though, because I don't want to
Okay.
tip you off.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
I believe wholeheartedly that everybody, even in healthcare, has a bodily fluid or process that they just cannot stand to hear or see or participate with. What is that for you?
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so what I will say is that I used to have a really, really strong aversion to saliva and mucus. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember in high school having to do this experiment in chemistry where people had to like spit in a tube or something, and I couldn't do it. I had to leave the room and they had to give me an alternative assignment because I was like dry heaving in the corner. It was,
Whoa.
yeah, couldn't see it at all. And honestly, once I actually really, and that was the thing that I was most worried about going into healthcare, was dealing with like oral care and people's spit and saliva and possibly
Mm-hmm.
mucus
Mm-hmm.
because of that aversion. And then once I actually started working, honestly, I just got over it. It doesn't bother me
Oh,
at all
good.
anymore. Like, my favorite thing to do is like suction a trach. It's
It's your
so
favorite thing to do?
one of them. I mean, obviously, like, that's not like real OT stuff, but like you
It
go there
has
and the yonkers and someone's like hacking a little bit and there's some stuff coming out of the trach and the yonkers there and you're like so
I'm
satisfying.
I am so glad you said that because my answer to that question is exactly the opposite. It is I still cannot stand mucus and spit. And the
Really?
thing I hate the most is having to suction somebody. And thankfully I don't work
Really?
with you anymore, so I don't have to do this. But like I mean, I did it because I'm a grown up and I can do it. But just
Yes.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
the most ridiculous thing to me, and I feel ridiculous myself, is that, we're OTs, we do everyday tasks. Brushing
Yeah.
your teeth is like an everyday task that everybody needs to do. And especially at hospital or skilled nursing level, sometimes that gets overlooked and I'm always like, let's brush your teeth. But
Gets
as
gets
soon as
overlooked a lot,
a
right?
lot,
And it's
a
actually
lot.
so important for the rest of the like care of the body that mouth gets cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so I recognize that, but I also still hate it. And so I've gotten better, right? Because I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
But at the point of spitting, I close my eyes.
Do you?
Yes. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. You should be able to watch somebody do this. This is true for my kids. This is true all the time. I mean, I can spit and watch my spit go in the sink, but just like I just really cannot handle. That's the one thing I can't handle. I can do poop. I can see a surgery. Blood can be everywhere.
Yeah.
Puke, whatever. I'm fine
Yeah.
with all that.
Yeah.
But the mucus and suction and spit, I
It's
can't
the
do it.
viscosity. It's the viscosity of the thing, right? So I will say, this is, even though suctioning mucus from a trach does not bother me, I do still like, if you have they're doing oral care with someone, they rinse, they spit in a cup or they spit in a
Yeah,
basin or something.
yeah.
I won't look at the basin while I'm dumping it out.
See,
I
same
just like
thing.
keep looking up. I just keep looking up because and then I turn the water on and then it's gone. For
And then
some
it's gone.
reason like that, I don't care. I also would say
That's
though,
so weird.
it is weird. It is weird because that's probably the least gross
It's the least
of
gross thing. I don't
it's
even have
like
to
the
touch it,
least gross thing.
actually.
Yeah, exactly. But I also feel like if there's one thing you have to like look away from and it's just someone spitting or like dumping out their like rinsed mouth water, it's probably not the worst thing in terms of like impact. It has pretty much no impact on the client or safety or the plan of care or progress or anything like that. But it
I
is
see
weird.
it, but it's weird. It's totally weird. I don't know.
You
I
know
can't
what?
get it.
I can't believe it was the same thing for both of us.
I know. That's so funny. Because I think it's so limited. It's just like Why is this a problem for me? You know, like it's just like you
Yeah.
said, it's like kind of the least gross of all of the things
Yeah.
that come out of your body.
You know, I could have never been a dentist though.
Mm,
You
yeah,
would have to watch
probably.
people spit all day. What are you're like, what do you mean? Of course you couldn't have been a
I guess my
dentist.
top tier I couldn't do it as a respiratory therapist.
Oh,
I'm
well,
so appreciative of them. So that will be first. I'm sure dentists will be next. I hadn't thought
yeah.
about it, but yeah,
I feel like dentist, orthodontist,
yeah,
because that
get in
not
and out.
only like you have to really get up in there, you got to look at it and like dig in it. And you know, people don't brush their teeth
I know.
before they get into that chair. So, like,
Yeah,
you can't look away during that part.
you can. That is actually going to impact plan of
That
care.
that could certainly impact plan of care and patient safety. So
That.
you can't when you're in there with some instruments,
Mm-mm.
you can't look away.
Thank you for going down this rabbit hole with me. What are we
You're
really going to
welcome.
talk about?
Anytime, anytime. Let's just do this all day instead of talking about something serious, shall we? No, no.
Yeah.
We probably should actually talk about a real topic. Okay. So I actually was recently asked this question
Okay.
by someone who both works in the care industry, but is not necessarily like they're not necessarily a care provider. They're not a care giving expert. They're not a healthcare provider, but
Okay.
they provide support services. And they were wondering, and then they had recently had their own like experience as a caregiver themselves. And they were wondering, how do you successfully prepare your home when someone is about to be discharged from rehab? So someone's in rehab, or let's say they're in the hospital or they're in rehab, and they're coming home and they are not as functional as they were before. You know, maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
still working on it, whatever it is. But their level of mobility is different than it was before. How do you actually start preparing the home for it? I thought that was a really good question to kind of
Mm-hmm.
dig into here with a little bit more time, and where we could, you know, focus on some highlights, but also like bounce ideas off of each other. So that's it. That's a question. How do we prepare a home for someone to come home from rehab or the hospital when they've had a change in their ability to get around and function?
So that is a really great question, and I want to give specific answers, but we didn't get a specific way that their level of ability has changed.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, because of that, the very first thing I'm going to say is get somebody's eyes on the scene and like
Mm-hmm.
ask for help. And so you could do that in a bunch of ways. Of course, you can do a virtual assessment. Ask Sammy. That's exactly what we do and why we do it. You can ask the place that they're at if they do a home assessment before they come home, because that's ideal because they're actually working with your person and know exactly what their level of ability is. Unfortunately, most places don't do that as much anymore. And
No, it
when they
used to be standard of care when I first
totally
started
was.
as an OT, standard
Hmm.
of care, right? And then it just like went away.
Yep. And it wasn't like all of a sudden, and then it was like, oh, the worst cases were like you have a spinal cord injury. This is a huge change. Okay, we're gonna go over. And now I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's pretty much none of the time. But I do hear some places doing it still. So
Mm-hmm.
ask about it because that's good. And ask to do it as soon as possible, not like 2 days before they discharge.
Yeah. Because
That
if
way
you
you
got to
have
make
more time.
changes, you need time.
You need
You
some
got to have
time.
time.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you need some time. And okay, so those are the first two options. The third way I'd say to get some help is to literally take some video of your spaces, getting in and out of the house, bathroom, bedroom. If we got to limit it, let's just do those three, and bring that to the clinicians that you're working with, and let them see it. And so because they're going to instantly be like, oh, there's a bunch of stairs to get in the house. We got to deal with that. Oh, your bed is actually high, and we've been transferring in this regular height bed. You know, they're going to see all of the problem areas because they've been working on the problem areas with them, and then get some feedback. That's the first thing I'd say.
Yeah. And I think that, like, that bit of advice, whether or not you think you are going to need to make any changes to your home, even if you're pretty sure that's not going to be the case at all, that last bit of advice that you gave to take videos, take pictures of the spaces that your loved one is going to have to move around and function in, take those no matter what to the rehab
Mhm.
team. Take them to the therapist, because there's just no way for that rehab gym or, mock apartment or whatever they've got there, if they even necessarily have those things, there's no way for that to be exactly like the home or the bed or the bathroom or whatever
Mhm.
of the person that they are treating. And so it is so imperative for them to know the actual environmental like parameters of what this person is going to have to deal with, so that they can appropriately train for and simulate that in the rehab environment, and problem solve around things that maybe aren't going to be able to be changed, or that aren't going to
Mhm.
be able to be
Mhm.
changed easily. Because as much as we like to think that we can always have a perfect solution to every single problem, or we can make things exactly the way that they either were, or exactly the way that they quote unquote like should be. I
Mhm.
used air quotes for those people who might be listening to this. um I also said quote unquote, so I guess that was an unnecessary explanation.
It
But
was.
the yeah,
Keep
you're
going. That's good.
welcome.
You're
Um,
good.
but we can't. We can't always make everything perfect. We can't always make everything the way we want it to be. And so we have to be able to solve those tough problems so people can still function as best as possible. And there's really no way to truly do that without having an understanding of the environment that the person is in, because there are, as we often talk about in occupational therapy, we use like the PEO model, right? There are
Mhm.
these three things that go into functioning: the person, the thing that they want to do, the occupation, and the environment. And they're all equally important. So we got to make
Yep.
those match up. Hey there, it's Amelia. Listen, I am so thrilled to have a great resource like Ask Sammy as part of the Care Lab team. And here's why. It's a game changer for aging in place because it makes it so simple. All you do is ask. Just type in your question, or even tell Sammy what the problem is, and get tailored solutions. Everything from innovative adaptive equipment to comprehensive resources. It's a great way to become more empowered, to live more independently, and to live with greater confidence. And my favorite thing about how Ask Sammy works is it's deeply rooted in dignity and practicality. So, whether you're a fellow therapist, a care partner, or someone who's seeking solutions for themselves, visit www.asksammy.com. We're going to link it in the show notes so you can find it there. Start making home more accessible today. Now, back to the show.
When you're in a facility, you're missing the environment piece of it because the therapists there don't get to see what's going on at your space. So do that as early as possible. Get some qualified assistance, either a virtual assessment with us or see if they will go to the house. And at the bare minimum, or maybe the first thing you should do is just video the spaces and show it to the people that are working with your family member early, like not like right away. As soon as you get there, as soon as you meet the people you're going to really work with, show it to them, because then they'll tailor everything around that instead of just off of words. So
Mm-hmm,
that's the first
mm-hmm.
thing I say to get prepared. Then they're going to give you, they're going to see the problems and they're going to help you come up with some solutions. And then you're going to try to implement those solutions as best you can at home. The main thing I want to say is that there are very few problems that I have encountered over 16 years that can't be addressed by some piece of adaptive equipment.
Yeah.
And so don't feel like you have to all of a sudden do a big remodeling project. You might want to do that down the road, and that's great. But this person is going to get out of the hospital in probably 2 to 4 weeks, right? At the most, they're going to stay probably in skilled nursing for 4 weeks, and so you need to have enough time to do it well. And so find it's totally worth the investment to get some adaptive equipment to solve the problem, especially because you don't know if that's going to actually be the best solution in the first place. I guess what I'm saying is we can have an idea that, oh, we're going to use this tool here, put this bed rail here is going to help with getting out of the bed. And it might, but you might find that, oh, after a couple of weeks, we don't need this anymore. So now instead of buying a whole new bed or getting a hospital bed, you didn't even have to go through that whole process because we figured out that we wanted to do it a different way. after you're
Mhm.
actually home and living life. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the
adaptive
number of
helps you do
times
that.
like I'm treating someone on rehab or in the hospital and we're talking about accessing the shower, right? We're talking about
Mhm.
bathing. And they'll say, "Oh, no, 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 it's going to be fine. You know, my dad or my uncle or so and so or someone is going to put in a walk-in shower. They're going to put in a curbless shower for me or something like that." I'll be like, "Okay, well, that's great, but one, you don't actually need that.
Mhm.
Here's a tub transfer bench. So this
Mhm.
is $50
Mhm.
versus ripping out your whole bathroom. Not that I am not a proponent. Like if you're gonna redo your bathroom anyway, like you said, if you're gonna redo it,
Right.
if you want to make it, and I'm all about a curbless shower, you know,
Mhm.
as long as it's got enough drainage, people never underestimate the amount of drainage you need for a roll-in shower, please. But like I'm all about that. But again, to your point, are you gonna be able to actually get that work completed in the time that you have before discharge? Probably not. That's actually
Probably
a
not.
massive and very expensive project to do. Bathrooms are expensive, right?
Yeah, totally.
Um, and two, if if you don't really have to do that right then and there, is that going to be the best use of that time and funds? Or are there other areas where maybe you will have to make some significant investment in order to have something be functional or accessible, that you would rather put those funds to when there's a piece of adaptive equipment that can solve that particular, you know, shower access issue, or like anything else? But I think you're right. Like there's so much great adaptive equipment out there. It's
Yeah.
not your job necessarily to know. It is your job. I mean,
It is my
Brandy,
job.
it
She's
is
talking to
actually
me.
your
It's my
job. It is
job.
my job, but it's not the
Yeah.
listener's job
Right.
to know about all those things. But there is someone there in the rehab environment whose job it is, and that's your occupational therapist. So have
Mhm.
a conversation with them about it. And,
Mhm.
you know, even if they don't know everything about every piece of adaptive equipment, tell them the problem. It is their job to go out and do the research and find what would be the best solution for you.
Mhm.
Right? We're here.
And
Use
also,
us.
that's why Ask Sammy is here. So even if they don't know, the research has been done. You just need to like type it in and find it. That's part of the
Facts.
problem because there's lots of stuff and people are inventing good things all the time. But if you don't know about it at the time that you need it, you like come across it a year later, like, oh, this would have been great a year ago when my
Mm-hmm.
mom came home after having a stroke. But now we rigged up something else, you know. So that's really the whole point of Ask Sammy. So use that as a resource to find what's out there, because there is something for just about everything.
The thing that I really like about Ask Sammy too, not that we're trying to make an ad for Ask Sammy right now, but like genuinely,
Just
it's a
yeah.
great resource because of the way it's designed. What I love about it is it's based on how an OT thinks about these things. So instead of just like you put in your problem, and instead of just getting a giant list of anything related to that area of the home or that area of functioning, which is overwhelming and not helpful. Let's just be honest. That
Mhm.
is not actually helpful. That still just gives you a bunch of things that you have to sort through. Ask Sammy actually makes like curated recommendations based on the specific problem that you are having, the way an OT thinks about it.
Mhm.
So that's pretty remarkable, actually. Good job. Good job, Brandy. Way to
Thanks. You
go.
know,
Pat on the
just trying out here
back.
to solve my own problems. That's all. Just
Pat
that's all
on
I'm
the
doing.
back.
You know, but because it is a lot to. It is the OT's job that's working with their family member to like give you ideas and help you connect, but also they do a lot of other things, and
Yeah.
so to stay up on all the new stuff that's coming out, and it's just challenging. It takes a lot of extra time. Um, Okay, so you're going to get some expert support
Hmm.
advice. You're going to start with adaptive equipment before you decide to do something else. And then the other thing I would say is get some support lined up. And so, even if this is like, I don't know, a knee replacement, and in 12 weeks we're going to be back to functioning well, if you're the person caring for somebody, that's 12 weeks is a long time. And you can't be there 24/7 helping somebody else 24/7. It's just not possible to do. I mean, you need a break too. And so and also some stuff needs to be done outside the house and all these things, right? And so find a way to get some support. I feel like a lot of times, especially when there's a hospital visit, You have the people around you saying, "Oh, just let me know how I can help you." And that's nice, but it feels like I don't know what I need help with. I don't know what you're willing to help me do. And
It also feels like more
emotionally,
work to put together a to-do list for other people sometimes than to just do
yes,
it yourself. Like, let's be honest. We've all been
yes,
there where like, how can I help? And you're like, I don't know. It's just easier for me to do it, right?
yes, totally.
Care Lab listeners, it's Brandy, and as the founder of a platform made to make aging in place easier for everyone, I knew it would be incomplete if we did not have education, especially for caregivers. So whether you're a family caregiver or somebody who trains a whole organization, Higher Standards caregiver training videos are for you. I'm so proud that we were able to partner together with Amelia in order to provide these to you because they're easy for everybody. You get great occupational therapist-led training on topics like transfers and how to care for someone as they age, or maybe as things change when you have Parkinson's. So no matter if you're the loved one who doesn't know exactly what to do next because things are getting different, or if you're a professional who trains caregivers that go into the community and you need some quality education, you get both from Higher Standards Caregiver Training. And you need to check them out at higherstandardscaregivertraining.com.
There's this website called lotsofhelpinghands.com, and it's like a meal train, if you've ever done that before,
Mm-hmm.
where somebody, you or somebody else, can set it up and put in like some things and some times that you might need help with. Maybe it's meals, so you don't have to do cooking, or maybe it's coming to hang out with the person for a couple hours, which then you can go do something else. And it takes out the social pressure of me looking you in the eyes and say, I need somebody to help me so I don't go crazy. And can you come over every week? Like I don't want to stress you out feeling like, oh, I'm not up for every week. And it's just like takes out the social pressure there about asking directly, because then somebody can send that link to you and then you can think, I can list all the things that could be useful to us. And you can be like, oh, that's a thing that I can do. Oh, I love cooking. I'm going to go ahead and make a meal every
Mm-hmm.
couple, and let you choose, I should say, how you want to help. And then it's all organized already. And then this reminds them and lets you know who's going to do what. And it's just a great way to get some support.
So, what I would add to everything, all the advice you've already given, which is excellent advice, what I would add to that, that my cell phone also wanted to chime in on, I'm going to turn that down. Sorry, everybody. I'm just going to throw it in the other room. So, what I would add to that is that it is really important as part of planning for the home environment for that discharge process to also understand what areas of the home are actually going to be important for that person to access, both in the short term and then potentially in the long term too, if the change that they are undergoing is going to be a long-term change. And the folks that you're working with are automatically going to zero in on like bathroom, bedroom, right? Because those
Mm-hmm.
are two places where people have to go. But if the kitchen is a place of importance for the person who is going to be coming home, we need to make sure to bring that up and let them know, okay, this person likes to cook, or this person likes to do this thing in the kitchen. This is necessary. And so how are we going to navigate through this space? If
Mm-hmm.
there is an area of the house that they love, that they always go to do, to water their plants or to do XYZ, it doesn't really matter what it is, but we want to think about how someone actually lives in their home and how they move throughout the entire home in a meaningful way versus just addressing those basic areas. Do we have to address those basic areas? Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But particularly when we're thinking about like long-term changes in people's lives, at the end of the day, just being able to get up and go to the bathroom is really not enough for people.
Yeah, for a
Like
good quality of life.
that does, using the toilet alone does not a good quality of life make.
Right.
So, I don't know why I said that like Yoda, but I did. So, hopefully it made sense to people. So we have to be thinking about, if there's a den that this person loves to go into where they play video games or they watch movies with the family or whatever like that, and that den, and it's like a sunken den or something like that. Well, we need to talk about that. We need to have a plan for that, because what we
Mm-hmm.
don't want, ultimately, you and that person, you're going to decide they need to access that space. So
Mm-hmm.
let's plan ahead for that to be a safe and good access. Even if it's not like something that you implement, even if it's not a change or a modification that you implement it right then and there, get
Right.
some ideas for how you are going to implement that change when you're ready, so that you're not left in a lurch 3 months or 6 months or a year down the line when some so and so is like, hey, I really want to be able to go watch movies in there with the family, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then you try and jury rig something up yourself that may or may not be either the easiest solution, the most affordable solution, or the safest solution. So, we got to think beyond just that, like, basic, can this person get to and from the bathroom, in and out of the shower, on and off the toilet, in and out of bed? That stuff's important. But we also need to think about their greater quality of life. And these are things that can be addressed as well.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying basically is use your expert support while you have it. Like even if you're not going to make those changes right away because that can be overwhelming and you do need to get the basics first, at least know what you should be able to do and how you're going to handle it because we should get back to that. Right? We
Mm-hmm.
want to do as many things for ourselves as we can because that's what gives us motivation for living. Everybody needs a purpose, and so when a purpose is taken away, that's a quick trigger for depression, and
Yep.
um, people are not motivated to do their recovery or whatever the rehab is for this thing if you don't have purpose. So make sure that's part of the thing.
Yep. It's got to be, we call them individualized plans of care, right? Because they shouldn't be the same for everyone. So ultimately, like, yes, absolutely. Use the expertise of the clinicians that are there with you, but also communicate to them what you know about the situation that maybe they don't know,
Hmm.
and encourage the person who's actually there getting rehab if they're able to communicate for themselves, saying like, hey, this is an important part of my life, this is something that's meaningful to me, because it's got to be about more than just the basics.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, we went over a whole lot of things to do to prepare a house. I
We
feel
did.
like the person asking the question was just like, what stuff should I buy and put in the house so I'm ready? But I think what we're trying to impress is that it's more than that. And we always want a black and white answer, right? We want a
Yeah.
pill to solve a problem when really we should exercise or whatever the thing is, right? And so we're saying the same thing here is that um, dig a little deeper and do a little bit more. The earlier you start, the better you will be. And then maybe you'll spend a little less money
Mm-hmm.
because you get the right things and just enough that you need to make a situation as good as possible for coming home. And the
I
other thing
also,
I'd add is like, if you know you're going in for like a planned knee replacement or hip replacement or something like that, um, do stuff in advance. And you can get a therapist out there before you go. And they're gonna know exactly what kind of situation you'll probably be in when you get out, and like get yourself set up and ready before you even have to go in.
yep, makes it a lot less stressful.
Absolutely.
um I was going to say something and then I forgot. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Okay, so, and I think actually this question is a good example of, like, often we think of these questions as being like relatively simple questions where maybe there is like a straightforward or pat answer, and the fact is that there's not necessarily a straightforward or pat answer, because people are individuals and their homes are different, and people
Yeah.
have different goals and wants and needs. And so it's not really so much about understanding, like, what are the three pieces of equipment that I need, or what are the three things that I need to look at in my home. It's really understanding how to best utilize your resources, ask the right questions, and not be afraid to share your own knowledge and input into the situation, because honestly, like, that is helpful. That is helpful too.
Totally is. I think that the way we have set up the medical model is to be top down. And so we go into the hospital thinking, oh, the people there in the white coats and the scrubs are going to tell me all the things I need to do. I'm going to passively accept that and then try to do it. But they can only operate. I'm not saying they're not smart people. They're great and experts at what they're doing, whatever that is. But they need some input from you too. And so your voice is valuable, is what I'm trying to say. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not looked at in a bad way for you to pipe up and say like, "Hey, how should I deal with this?" and show them what's going on at home. They're gonna actually be really excited because they're gonna be like, "Oh, great! Now I have some information to go on instead of just taking a guess at what things we should improve on based on how this person's body or mind is working." And so you're a big part of the team. Is what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. The
Yeah.
patient there as well as the caregiver.
I think that for me, I've always envisioned like successful healthcare as being a partnership
Uh huh.
between myself and the person that I'm treating and whoever else is involved in that care. Um,
Hmm.
because really, like we're all team members. We all have a different piece of the puzzle. No one piece is actually more important than another piece.
Right.
But we have to communicate. We have to communicate respectfully, and we really have to work together. It's because one person alone, no matter who that person is, no matter how smart they are, no matter how many degrees they are, they actually can't solve all the problems on on their own. It's just not
Right.
possible, you know?
Yeah. That's why we have so many different professions.
Yeah, indeed.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think also why we have better healthcare outcomes and there's lots of research on this, when the person who is receiving healthcare is feeling like they're listened to, like they have input, like they have trust in that relationship, we know the outcomes are better. And that I think comes from having a partnership style relationship between the provider and the patient.
Yep. Absolutely. That was a great question. I'm glad we got to discuss it and care lab it.
Yeah, we care lab the heck out of that one. It really was a good question. Because I think it's something that's super relevant to a lot of people, and unfortunately I think it's something that folks don't think about a lot until they're like literally day of bringing someone home, and then they're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't work, or I don't know what to do, or I didn't ask this question, or no one told me. So it's a really great thing to think about beforehand and start prepping for, early and often, as that whole
Absolutely.
rehab process goes from beginning to end.
Yeah, totally important. And then if you're a healthcare professional or you're just expecting that home health is gonna come in and save the day, like they are awesome, but you're gonna get a nurse first, and there is rules, so you got to get them within 24 to 48 hours. But a lot can happen within that time frame if you're feeling unprepared or something. If you don't have at least some stuff set up, and then it's going to be another day or two after that before you get PT and OT, and then they make their recommendations, and then you got to do the thing. So that's still some more days. So the more you can do up front, the even better you can use the support that is going to come into the house, because you're already going to have some stuff there. You're going to have some stuff on the way, and they're like, great, I'll set that up for you. We can practice using it, whatever. Um, but yeah, there's definitely this gap between the discharge time and when you get some more support. And so planning in advance is really helpful.
Yeah. I think we care lab the heck out of that.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to add right now. I probably will like 5 minutes after we stop recording, but
Which is why we have a weekly episode. So make sure y'all
which
come back and listen in your podcast feeds next week so you can hear the rest of Amelia's thoughts that she has not thought yet.
I don't threaten them with a good time. Don't threaten them with a good time.
And if you guys have a question that you would like us to care lab, please let us know in the comments or send us an email, connect with us on our website. However, smoke signal works too, because we're happy to care lab it with you.
Yeah, for sure. Those are actually the best kind of episodes, the best kind of questions, or when we're getting real questions, from y'all. So don't be shy, and we'll see you next time on Care Lab.
See ya.
All right, bye.